Pokémon Champions is one of the most unusual directions the Pokémon Company has ever taken with the franchise. And after spending a lot of time researching the game, I think it's time to be honest about who this game is for and who it isn't. If you're expecting the next mainline Pokémon game with a story, open world exploration, and gym leaders, then I need to warn you right now. Pokémon Champions is not that game. But don't click away just yet, because if you're someone who loves building competitive teams and climbing the ranked ladder, this might be the Pokémon game you've been waiting for. First, let's talk about the core identity of the game. Pokémon Champions is not a traditional adventure game like Scarlet and Violet. It's a battle-focused title, meaning the entire experience is built around competitive Pokémon battles. The game brings together everything players love about competitive Pokémon into one place, including the type system, abilities, moves, Mega Evolution, single battles, double battles, ranked PvP, and private matches with friends. This is essentially the Pokémon Company's way of separating competitive battling from the traditional exploration and story experience. And honestly, this is the first time they've done it this clearly. As for the release model, the game is free to start, with an optional starter pack and optional in-game purchases. The Nintendo Switch version launched on April 8, 2026, while the mobile version arrived on the App Store and Google Play on June 17, 2026. One particularly interesting feature is cross-platform progression. If you use the same Nintendo account, your data can be shared across platforms. That means you can build a team on your Switch at night and continue climbing ranked matches on your phone during your lunch break the next day. And perhaps the most important piece of information about the game's long-term direction. The Pokémon Company has confirmed that Pokémon Champions will become the official platform for Pokémon Video Game Championships, starting with the 2026 World Championships. That says a lot. This is not an experimental spin. This is a game designed to become the official esports arena for the entire Pokémon franchise. Now let's talk about the core gameplay loop. You build a team of 6 Pokémon, choose either singles or doubles format, and then jump into online modes such as ranked battles, casual battles, private battles, and seasonal online competitions with unique rule sets. The actual battle experience is very similar to traditional Pokémon. You preview your opponent's team, choose the right Pokémon, and battle in classic turn-based combat. The biggest difference compared to the mainline games isn't the combat mechanics, it's how you build your team. Pokémon Champions doesn't focus on catching Pokémon in an open world or progressing through a story campaign. Instead, the focus is entirely on optimizing your team and strategy as directly as possible. Specifically, you earn victory points, or VP, through battles. Those VP can be used to recruit new Pokémon, modify moves, change abilities and natures, allocate stats, purchase items, unlock Mega Stones, buy battle music, and even acquire trainer cosmetics. In other words, the process of building a competitive team, which traditionally required countless hours of breeding and grinding in the mainline games, has now become a central gameplay system and has been streamlined significantly. According to the official trailer, you can change moves, adjust natures, swap abilities, and redistribute stats using VP, without having to go through the complicated breeding process found in traditional Pokémon games. For competitive players, that's a massive change because it removes the most time-consuming part of the team building. When it comes to obtaining Pokémon, the game offers 2 paths. The first is connecting to Pokémon Home, allowing you to transfer certain Pokémon from other games or from Pokémon Go into Champions. The second is recruiting Pokémon directly through the roster management, where you roll or choose from a rotating list of Pokémon and spend VP to recruit them temporarily or permanently. There are a few important restrictions to keep in mind. Only Pokémon that are actually included in the Champions roster can be transferred from home. And and Pokémon obtained in Champions cannot be transferred back to home. Additionally, if a Pokémon brought in from home has moves that aren't compatible with Champions' battle system, you'll need to adjust them to the training system. Another standout feature is the Omni Ring, a device used to activate Mega Evolution during battles. The Pokémon Company has also hinted that the Omni Ring may support additional battle features in the future, meaning this system could expand over time. And here's a nice detail for fans of Pokémon Legends. ZA Mega Dragonite from that game has already appeared in Champions, showing clear connections between recent Pokémon titles. When it comes to visuals and audio, the official trailer showcases a modern arena battle presentation with a clean interface and battle animations designed to be easier for spectators to follow. That makes perfect sense if the game's ultimate goal is to become a major esports platform. Based on the hands-on previews I've looked at, the visuals have generally been described as solid. The game uses modern Pokémon models, battle animations feel more cinematic, and both the arenas and UI look noticeably sharper than older footage. The soundtrack has also received praise for fitting the competitive atmosphere, and the game even allows players to select battle themes from previous Pokémon games, which is a very nice touch for longtime fans. That said, some previews have reported occasional blur or pixelation caused by upscaling in specific situations. So that's something worth monitoring as the game continues to roll out more broadly. Now let's talk about the pros and cons. On the positive side, Pokémon Champions is arguably the first Pokémon game built with a single clear goal, making competitive Pokémon more accessible to a larger audience. New players no longer have to learn countless side systems before they can start battling seriously, while longtime players finally get a dedicated PvP environment instead of having to play through an entire story campaign before reaching the competitive scene. Cross-platform support is another huge advantage, with Switch, Switch 2, iOS, and Android all sharing the same ecosystem. The game has the potential for a larger community, healthier matchmaking, and a much more convenient experience overall. The VP-based recruitment and training system is also a major accessibility win because it transforms team building from a lengthy grind into something much faster, more intuitive, and easier to approach. As for the negatives, the first issue is obvious. The game feels heavily focused on PvP. For players who love Pokémon because of exploration, meeting NPCs, challenging gyms, and experiencing a story, this game may feel like it's missing the soul of adventure. Current previews haven't shown enough substantial single-player content to fully satisfy that audience. The second concern is the free-to-start model. The official website contains optional purchases and a starter pack, which naturally makes players cautious. If the VP economy isn't balanced carefully, it could become a grind, especially for competitive players who frequently need to adjust teams to keep up with the evolving meta. This is something we'll need to watch after launch, because right now there isn't enough evidence to call the game. The third concern is that some previews suggest the IV system has been simplified compared to traditional Pokémon games. While that makes the game easier for newcomers to understand, it may reduce some of the deep min-maxing strategies that hardcore competitive players enjoy. So what's my final verdict? Pokémon Champions isn't trying to become a complete Pokémon adventure. It wants to become the best, fastest, and most accessible Pokémon battle platform ever made. If you love team building, ranked battles, following the meta, and competitive esports, then this is a huge step forward for the franchise and absolutely worth downloading. But if what you want from a Pokémon game is a grand adventure filled with exploration, story, and an open world, then this game may leave you missing that sense of adventure. What do you think about this new direction for Pokémon? Are you part of the competitive battle crowd, or do you prefer the traditional adventure experience? Let me know in the comments below.